What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. You can show up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You can stream it up over there. You got your Google and Alexa home devices. The app, download it, take it on the go. Also video streams. Appreciate you making us a part of your start. Up and at it here this morning. What do we got on a good old game plan for us? Well, we're not popping champagne quite yet. Brewers did inch a little bit closer to winning the division. The A's did their part. They defeated the Cubs last night, but the Brewers not able to defeat the Phillies and secure that National League Central championship. But the magic number is down to one. Brewers, there's a chance that before they even take the field tonight, could be champions. They got a day game. Cubs got a day game with the A's, but otherwise, a win tonight. If the Cubs were to win, the Cubs were to defeat the A's today. Win tonight for the Brewers means a little celebration in the locker room, popping some champagne. But last night it was a 5-1 loss, going up against Zach Wheeler, who we talked about it yesterday. Zach Wheeler, who has been pitching incredibly well as of late, and he was pretty darn good again last night. 7 innings, just 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, giving up 4 hits. Brewers only 5 total team hits in the game last night, including Garrett Mitchell's RBI triple there. But that was it for the scoring there. Frankie Montas, he did have 10 Ks, but just 5 2/3. Couldn't quite get through that 6th inning. Aaron Ashby had to come in and 3 pitches done over there. But 3 earned runs given up by Frankie Montas there. So Brewers not able to seal the deal last night, but again, they can try not only to win the division tonight, but to win this series against the Philadelphia Phillies before beginning a 4-game series starting tomorrow against the Diamondbacks. So, but we'll preview this upcoming matchup for tonight. Which here's a moment for kind of just setting the stage here. Assuming the Cubs win today, you got Freddie Peralta on the mound. All right, Ace. Let's. This is a moment for Freddie Peralta going up and against Aaron Nola tonight as well. So an intriguing pitching matchup nonetheless. We'll preview this and kind of give you an idea how these pitchers have been faring as of late, looking at some of these lineups with their experience going up against these pitchers. But really, when you kind of just look at some of the basic numbers, Nola and Peralta, some very similar stats. I mean, Nola is 12-8 with a 3.62 ERA and 174 strikeouts. Peralta is 11-8 with a 3.75 ERA and a buck 84, 184 strikeouts. So we'll talk about this game, preview this game, potential division championship coming up here in just a little bit. So baseball talk. Twins too. Got a big win last night, defeating the Guardians because Tigers also won. So trying to keep pace and trying to stay ahead of the Tigers for that final wild card spot over there. So plenty of baseball talk coming up throughout the morning here as we start to wrap up this final or this regular season here. Packers will be returning to practice today, and perhaps, just perhaps, we will get a glimpse of what the odds are of Jordan Love playing against the Titans. So this will be the first practice since Sunday's game here. Kind of get an idea. Marshawn Lloyd placed on the injured reserve, rookie running back who got hurt in Sunday's win over the Titans. Had a couple nice runs over there, but an ankle injury is now forcing him to miss at least 4 games. At least 4 games. And remember, too, this year, the NFL, each team you can have 8 players go on injured reserve and designate them for return. So you can have up to 8, which I think is a fantastic idea. I don't know why it took them this long to do this and such. I know they've been adjusting it the last couple of years, but just because Marshawn Lloyd's on the injured reserve doesn't mean his season is done. But for the rookie running back, he's had an early issues staying a little bit healthy. I think that's fair to say. Has had a couple issues of staying healthy, and it's a downer too because AJ Dillon, we know we're not seeing him at all. So Lloyd had a pretty good opportunity to be solidify himself as the number 2 running back on this depth chart, but just he's been banged up here a little bit. So we know Jacobs is the bell cow. Bigger role perhaps now for Emmanuel Wilson going forward. So we'll talk a little Packers football as we inch a little bit closer to kickoff on Sunday against the Titans. Packers looking to go 2-1 before they welcome their division rival, the Vikings, to town next Sunday. Here. So we'll get to that. We'll throw that in there. We've got a little business of sports coming at you at about 8 o'clock or so. Yeah, about 8 o'clock here. So a little after 8. We'll hit that up over here too. So, and whatever else is on your mind. All right, whatever else is on your mind here this morning, you can let us know. Join in on the conversation with a quick text at 715-830-1912 or comment on the video streams or social media or whatever is easier for you. All right. So let's talk some baseball here to get things rolling, shall we? Get the leadoff going right away here this morning because we got lots to get to here. So last night, Brewers falling to the Phillies, as we mentioned here. But that magic number down to 1. Let's get those champagne. Hopefully the champagne is still a little cool and on ice here a little bit. But looking at tonight's game, let's just operate under the assumption that the Cubs will win today against the A's. Win and in. Controlling your destiny. Win and in. And got an interesting pitching matchup coming up tonight with Nola and Freddie Peralta. Let's start off with Freddie Peralta, who's coming off of a win against the Diamondbacks on the 13th. Went 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, 1 earned run. All season long, we have talked about Freddie Peralta maybe not pitching to that level of expectation that we had for him, probably the team had for him, he had probably for himself. I know it's been a question from not only fans, but media members who cover the team. It just hasn't quite really clicked. In August, he looked like the pitcher. I would argue in August, he looked like the pitcher that I think we were all kind of hoping to see at the beginning of the year. He was 3-1 in 5 games with a 2.89 ERA. I think that was kind of the pitcher that we wanted to see, right? September in 3 games so far, he is 2-1. Lone loss against Colorado. Gave up 3 earned runs there, but a 4.20 ERA. In his 3 games so far in the month of September, 3-3-1. And that's where you go back to August, what might be even a little bit more impressive here too. He had 2 games where he gave up 4 earned runs, and he still finished with a 2.89 ERA. So, and so far in the month of September, his numbers are similar, specifically in the ERA department, with what he was doing in July, June, May. So you'd like to see him maybe get back to what he was doing in the month of August, limiting those runs. And he had back-to-back games where he gave up 0 earned runs. This is a moment game. This is, again, operating under the assumption that the Cubs will win. So if the Brewers win, they're in tonight. They can celebrate, put a little beer goggles on in the clubhouse and all that fun jazz. Jackson Cheerio. You can't, though. We'll get to that a little bit later on here. Think about it. Something I didn't even realize there. But I'm hoping for a stellar performance from Freddie Peralta tonight. When you look at the matchups with some of the Phillies hitters going up against him, specifically guys who have gone up against him quite a bit. We're talking at least double-digit at-bats. You've got some guys that have had some consistent success against Freddie Peralta. Castellanos, 17 at-bats, 4.12 with a 1.268 ERA. Bryce Harper, couple of home runs and 11 at-bats, 273 with a 1.242 OPS. Kyle Schwarber, couple home runs as well, 11 at-bats, 273, 1.338 OPS. Trey Turner is another guy that's 11 at-bats, but he's got a home run. Other than that, kind of struggled. 0.091 ERA. I keep wanting to say ERA. Average with a 0.531 OPS. So I'm kind of curious to see which version of Freddie are we going to get. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of hope the Cubs win today because to me, this kind of then would feel like, all right, you got the Phillies, top team in the National League right now, with kind of I know it's not a must win, but I almost want to treat it as a must win. Like, I kind of want to set the stage for Freddie Peralta to be like, okay, dude, you want to be the ace? We think you're the ace. Here's a moment. Win and we get a championship, a division championship. You're going up against one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. Right now, record-wise, the best team in the National League. A lineup that's got a lot of power in there, a lot of pop. Here you go. You're at home. This is a moment. This is a moment for you, Freddie. So that's where I kind of hope that the Cubs win today. And I know that's, how dare I, but I just kind of want to set that stage up a little bit for Freddie. You know what I mean? Like, plus, I mean, okay, it's Cubs lose, you win the division championship, but if you lose tonight, you're still kind of celebrating in the locker room. It's like kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird. So I kind of want the Cubs to win so that the Brewers can go out there and hopefully Freddie is just dominant. And not only just Freddie, but the offense too. You know, you're going up against Aaron Nola. Okay? Guy who's pitched quite a bit in some big moments. This year, as we mentioned, 12-8 with a 3.62 ERA. He's coming off of back-to-back losses, though, where he hasn't even reached the fifth inning. So could this be an opportunity for the Brewers to, kind of take advantage of that? Or is Aaron Nola kind of maybe primed for a bounce-back game? Because his month of September hasn't been the greatest. In August, in 5 games, he had a 2.70 ERA, 1-2 record. But so far in September, in these 3 games, he's 0 for 2 with a 7.20 ERA. So maybe an opportunity for the Brewers to rack up some runs. You go back to June 5th, Aaron Nola pitched against the Brewers, and he had his stuff that day. 7 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. So I mean, he had the best of the Brewers back on the 5th there. Just double checking, but I believe Freddie has not faced the Phillies so far. Yeah, he has not faced the Phillies this year. So one thing I think too, when you worry about maybe Freddie Peralta going up against a lineup like this, home run ball. Hopefully that doesn't rear its ugly head tonight. But back to Nola here too. The guy easily with the most at bats is Contreras. And honestly, there's guys on here who have not had success against Aaron Nola. William Contreras has a home run, a whopping 24 career at bats, and a lot of he spent some time with the Braves there, so that makes sense. Division team, but 250 and a 738 OPS. Willie Adames 13 at bats, and he's 0 for an average, just a 133 OPS. Sanchez has 10 career at bats, but he's hitting 200. He's got a home run against him too. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, Andrew Monasterio's got 5 at bats and he's 600 with a 1.400 ERA. Bryce Terang is 8 at bats and he's hitting 250 against him. So it'll be interesting to see which version of these pitchers that we are going to see tonight. Are we going to see the Aaron Nola that has been pitching like the last couple of games here, giving up a lot of runs and not lasting in these games? Or are we going to get the Aaron Nola that was lights out against the Brewers back on June 5th? And the same for Freddie Peralta. Are we going to get the Freddie Peralta that maybe kind of finished the month of August? Or kind of, his previous game, at least against the Diamondbacks. I'd like to see him go a little bit further than 5. But I think the main thing, too, when it comes to Freddie is don't give up that home run ball. Right? Don't give up that home run ball. But let's. What are your thoughts on the game heading into today? All right. What's your thoughts? Hit me up with a quick text 715-830-1912. I should also mention as well that Aaron Nola this year. So we talk about home run balls. Okay, Aaron Nola has given up the 4th most home run balls. 4th most. It feels like it's kind of interesting because I think it feels like Freddie has given up the most from the Brewers. He hasn't actually. Now he's 13th in the league. He's tied for 13th in the league, which still, I mean, is up there. But there's 2 other starters for the Brewers that have given up more home runs than Freddie Peralta. Colin Ray is tied for 7th with Aaron Savale and a few other pitchers, but those 2 have given up 27. Peralta has given up 25. Aaron Nola has given up 28. I think it's Freddie is almost. It reminds me a little bit of like Corbin Burns-esque sometimes with his home run balls, where it's just like it's kind of a random. Like he looks like he's dealing, looks like he's pitching well, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a home run. It almost feels like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, or maybe it's in a big moment or something like that. Like Corbin Burns had those type of home runs, whether it was like to early in the game or like he's through 3, he's looking solid, and all of a sudden home run. It just kind of like bad timing, like a bad timing home run. It feels like. But Aaron Nola tied for 4th for the 4th most home runs given up this year. Can the Brewers take advantage of that? Can they take advantage of that and attack that? Strikeout Freddie looking to inch a little bit closer to 200 Ks for this year. He's sitting at 184, which is easily the highest for any Brewers starter this year. Tied for 13th. Aaron Nola actually, too, is tied for 18th. Actually, he's in sole possession of 18, where he's at 174. So, all right. With that, hit me up with some text on your thoughts on the game tonight. Or if you got a little question or you got maybe a little football on the mind, got a little Packers on the mind and such, let me know too. All right. We got to take a quick break. We'll have more coming up here in just a little bit. Continue our Brewers chat. Potential hat and t-shirt game tonight. Caps and t-shirt game tonight. Soaked in champagne or maybe apple juice. We'll explain that coming up a little bit. We've got that quest open, the Ultimate Wisconsin Outdoorsman Quest. Prove that you should be crowned the Ultimate Wisconsin Outdoorsman. Just head to sportstalk1051.com. Click on the Outdoors tab for your details. Upload some pics. Check off some items on that checklist. Whoever checks off the most. Adult, youth, separate. Over there too. But we want to crown you with the title Ultimate Wisconsin Outdoorsman. So again, visit our website sportstalk1051.com. Click on that Outdoors tab for more details. Speaking of the outdoors, too, don't forget whether you got a youngster getting ready for a youth hunt, or maybe you're kind of eyeing up the deer hunt in November, or maybe you need a new turkey shotgun and such. Tilden Gun is the place to go. Our good friends at Tilden Gun. You can check out their website, tildengun.com, or stop by the shop at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Sean and Hunter over there. They'll help you find just what you're looking for. Best prices, best selections in the Chippewa Valley. Continuing our baseball chats here this morning as the Brewers will look to get some caps, get some T-shirts, and douse themselves in a little champagne here tonight. Pat Murphy, though, after the game last night, saying that we'll obviously keep an eye on the Cubs game, but we're thinking now, and I hope the guys are thinking this too, let's play good tonight. What a great opportunity for this time of year to keep playing baseball and to learn everything we can learn. We're not interested in exhaling like it's over. We're interested in let's keep our heads down and let somebody come tap us on the shoulder and tell us no more games. I like that quote. I like that quote from Pat Murphy there. Let's keep our heads down and let somebody come tap us on the shoulder and tell us no more games. I got to save that quote. That I don't know why, but that one just that one hits. I really like that one. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one there from Pat Murphy. So, but yeah, and if you read some of or if you kind of listen back to some of the comments from some of the players after the game last night, they kind of echoed the same thing we were just talking about a little bit. They'd kind of like to be in a position where they win and they're in, because it's a little I think kind of awkward, because they're not going to celebrate before their game tonight if the Cubs lose today. That would just be really weird, and there's just no way that would happen. So it's just kind of weird, especially if they were to lose tonight. So if the Cubs lose this afternoon, Brewers in, but then if they lose tonight, you're still kind of celebrating in the locker room, but just kind of weird. And some of the players kind of talked about that too. But we'll play it one game at a time. So Rhys Hoskins, guy who's former Philly, he's been in some of these big games and postseason games. Times I've been in the playoffs, we've controlled our own destiny and got us in with a win on Wednesday with the schedule. That's a little bit of out of control. Still, we have to find a way to play good baseball and win the game, regardless of getting in via another team's loss or getting in via our win. It's an incredible accomplishment. I'm anxious to see how it goes. Just like everybody, Frankie Montas, who got charged with the loss last night, said, of course, we want to clinch, but we want to do it in a big way. We want to celebrate after a win. I think it feels better like that. No question. That obviously feels 100% better over there. But, baseball, Major League Baseball as a whole right now, things continue to kind of be a little tight here towards the finish line. Twins picking up I think a big 4-1 victory last night over the Guardians to kind of keep the Tigers at bay. The Tigers with a extra innings 3-1 win against the Royals last night. Mets now too. They're in a, I don't want to say comfortable because it could change within a series, but with the Braves losing and the Mets winning, there's a really good chance right now. I know we've talked about this a couple times, but there's a good chance when we get to that final series of the year between the Brewers and the Mets might as well just stay in town. They might as well stay in town because it very well right now could be that's the 3 versus the 6. Brewers being the 3, Mets being the being the 6th team over there, because the Mets now hold a 2-game lead over the Braves for that final wild card spot, And it'll be really interesting to see once we get to that series. I know I'm looking way ahead because we got things to take care of first, and we've got, take it by a game approach. But just kind of projecting here a little bit, it's going to be really interesting to see if the Mets maybe clinch a wild card spot before that. Obviously, if the Brewers, let's say they mathematically can't get a top 2 seed, can't get that bye, how both those teams are going to play that 3-game series, knowing that there's probably, assuming that there's nothing to play for, if they get into that situation at the end of next week and they begin that series, how do both those teams kind of manage it? Because remember, you got 2 managers who are in their first years too of managing these teams. I know Pat Murphy, bench coach, but also got a little bit of time with the Padres and such. But both these managers brand new in their current roles. So it'll be interesting to see if it gets to that situation. I know there's still a lot at stake, but if we get to that situation where both of those teams have nothing to play for, how do they manage those 3 games, knowing too that they will play each other? But maybe that won't be the case. Maybe the Brewers can somehow catch up to the Dodgers, or maybe the Phillies go on a little bit of a spill here or such. Maybe they can crack into that top 2. If you're looking at the schedule, so the Marlins actually helped out a little bit last night, picking up a win against the Dodgers. I mean, Brewers fans, we'll take those types of wins here. But if you're kind of looking at the schedule for both the Dodgers and the Phillies, trying to maybe keep an eye on where everything's at here. Maybe specifically the Dodgers, since they're in the 2 seed right now, a little bit closer to the Brewers. But okay, so first off, Phillies, interesting. They've got, right after this Brewers one, they've got 4 games against the Mets. So they've got 4 against the Mets. Dodgers, meanwhile, so they got to finish up 2 more games against the Marlins, and they've got 3 against Colorado. That's at home. 3 against the Padres. That's at home, and then they go on the road against Colorado too. So, meh. I mean, if we're just looking at the teams they play, I mean, I feel like advantage is Dodgers and Phillies to hold on to their current spots, but it's baseball. We don't know. That's never always the case there, but maybe getting a little bit of a separation here. I guess, if we want to look at Atlanta, if they're a potential that could still kind of sneak in here, what's their schedule look like? Just to kind of bring it up here. While that loads, okay, here we go. So Atlanta, as they fit, if they want to try to squeak in here and try to catch up to the Mets, because maybe with the Mets taking on the Phillies starting tomorrow here, maybe Atlanta can get back into this. They've got the Reds, the Marlins. Well, then they've got the Mets again, and then the Royals. So that's pretty tough for Atlanta there too. But that's kind of where everything stands for the National League in this race. I feel like if I were to make a quick pick and predict sort of thing, I feel like this is the order it's going to be in. Phillies is the top, Dodgers is the 2, Brewers is the 3, Padres, Diamondbacks, your top 2 wild cards. They'll face each other, and I feel like the Mets right now are going to hold on and be that 6th seed there. That's kind of where I'm at. Twins, okay, so for the American League, I feel like, okay, Yankees are probably going to be probably 1 or 2. Cleveland's going to have something to say in there too. They're 1.5 back, it looks like. New York's got 88 wins, Cleveland's 87, but New York's got 2 fewer losses at this point in time. Houston is leading their division by 82. The real race is here is within the final, probably the final spot of this wild card chase. Baltimore's going to get the wild card. They're going to get one of the top wild cards there. I feel like Kansas City is going to get it too, even though they've lost their last 3. But Minnesota got their 80th win last night. Their lead remains 1.5 over the Tigers. The Tigers maintaining that lead with an extra innings win yesterday against the Kansas City Royals. When we look at the rest of the Twins schedule for this upcoming or for the final couple weeks, a little less than a couple weeks here. When we look at it, they've got the Guardians for a couple more games. They're at Boston, but then they finish up at home. Marlins, and then you got that Baltimore series to finish it off. And if Baltimore is at that point where, maybe the Yankees have clinched their division already, and Baltimore maybe has that top wild card seed locked up, Baltimore may just kind of, sit down guys and get their rotation set for their opening round of the playoffs, which obviously helps the Twins at that point. Tigers, meanwhile, when you look at their upcoming, obviously they've got to finish up with the Royals, going for a sweep too, with the Kansas City Royals, but then they've got Baltimore coming up here, and that's at Baltimore. But I feel like if they can win a couple of those games, win that series, Detroit's schedule kind of favors them. They're going to be all at home too. Tampa Bay, and then the White Sox. They finish up against the White Sox for crying out loud. So I feel like that Tigers and that Twins battle for that final wild card spot could be pretty interesting. Seattle, I know, is it 2-3 back? Let me bring it up. Seattle's 3 back right now because they lost to the Yankees last night. They got 2 more against the Yankees. Those are going to be too big. They can't fall too far behind, too much farther behind. Then you got the Rangers, 3 more against the Astros, and they finish up against the A's. I look at this week as a big week for the Mariners, where you can't fall too far behind, the Tigers at this point. But that's going to be a lot of fun watching this Tigers and Twins race to finish up the rest of this season too. So, kind of looking at the rest of these races here too. Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to say Twins are quite in there and yeah, you're good point. Good point by Jeremy. Padres are only 3.5 back of the Dodgers for that division, so it's a good point. That's a big series too for both those NL West teams. Brewers fans, got to be Padres fans when that comes up. Oh yeah, got to be Padres fans. Maybe they can catch the Dodgers there a little bit. That 3-game series starting next week. That is a big one. That's at LA, but who knows at that point. Good point. Good point, Jeremy. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll finish up the first hour here. We'll get to a little football talk. I know a couple of you have already chimed in on some green and gold chat as well, but we'll get to that. Don't worry. All right, quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Breakfast sound pretty good right now? It does sound pretty good, doesn't it? Maybe head on over to our good friends at the VFW Post 305 and grab yourself some breakfast. Or maybe you're trying to figure out what to do for dinner or supper. VFW Post 305, baby. Check them out if you haven't been there lately. Awesome menu. Can't beat that view if you want to dine in over there too with the river in the back. Walk in, go to the back there. You can see that view over there. Also, too, Friday fish fry, right? Tradition in Wisconsin. Check out their Facebook page. You can see a picture of their fish fry. Holy moly, does that look amazing! But give our good friends at the VFW Post at 305 a visit at Star Avenue or on Star Avenue, excuse me, for if you're looking for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or if you want to kind of hold some events like our good friends, the Card Collecting Club had their event over there a couple weeks ago in their hall too. VFW Post 305 has that as well. Coming up in a little over an hour. I was gonna say a couple hours, but then we're not on. But a little over an hour, we'll do a business of sports, and then coming up next hour, new Wednesday segment, midweek adjustments. We'll explain what that is coming up just past 7 o'clock. But it's a midweek adjustment day here. We'll get to that just past 7. Packers. And we'll get back to some baseball talk here too. But the Packers returning to practice today. First practice to get set for their matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Noon kickoff. I love me my noon kickoffs now on Sundays. But we'll maybe get our first glimpse, idea, whether Jordan Love will play this week. Now, if he doesn't practice today, don't freak out too much. If you were really, really, really hoping that Jordan Love was going to play, if he doesn't practice today, don't freak out too much. It's just Wednesday, okay? So let's just calm it down a bit. Thursday and Fridays are going to be the big ones over there. But I would think if he does something today, in front of the media especially, then I think maybe you got to be feeling pretty good about his chances. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I could be completely off on this. I wouldn't be surprised if, during the media portion, maybe he's not out there, not doing anything. But then when the injury or when the practice report comes out, maybe it's listed as limited. One of those things. I don't know. That's just me trying to be a little conspiracy theory minded sort of thing. But my thoughts, if he's healthy enough to, if he's cleared, if he's medically cleared, that's number one. If the guy is medically cleared and he's ready to go, you play him. I understand some people, you're looking at Tennessee and be like, oh, Malik Willis revenge game, let him go out there, let him play, and we can win without Jordan against Tennessee. Ugh. Don't have that. Don't always have that assumption. Don't always have that assumption. I don't want to be too cute. I want to rack up some wins here. Okay. Want to rack up a bunch of wins here. So I don't want him to get too cute. Or I don't want, I think if you're kind of, you're just resting, if he's cleared and he's ready to go and you're just kind of resting a guy, be like, that I feel like that could backfire. And the biggest thing now too is, you got a bunch of tape on what your game plan was last week. And we know Tennessee is very familiar with Malik Willis. They may know some of his tendencies and such, right? They may know a little bit. Now, I know it's a new coaching staff, so they're not maybe as in depth with him as from the previous years, but they're pretty darn familiar with him, spending an all offseason and preseason with him. So if it's me, Jordan Love's medically cleared and he's ready to go, you play him and you get him out on that field. And I think if he does play this weekend, you're still going to see a very run heavy team, but I do think you're going to see a team that will throw the ball more than 14 times and stretch that field a little bit more too. That's just my personal thoughts on it. I feel like that's, if Love plays, it's still going to be very run heavy, but you're going to see them being able to move the ball down the field a little bit more too. So I'll be honest, as a fan, I hope Jordan Love's playing. I hope he's playing. because I think you've got a Tennessee team right now who's 0-2, and they've had 2 close losses. And you look at that Jets loss from last week and Will Levis, I mean, making some boneheaded plays here. I just feel like that's a team maybe you don't want to mess around with. 'Cause I think they've been close in the first couple games, and they may be like, we're so close. Just don't mess around with Tennessee too much. Just don't. Especially when you got Minnesota coming up the following week too, and Minnesota's right now 2-0. I know Minnesota's got. Does Minnesota have the? Is it the Ravens? Who do they got coming up here? No, it's not. Texans. That's what I thought it was an AFC team. They got the Texans who are 2-0 too. So somebody's going to fall down to 2-1. But yeah, if me as a fan, if I want Love play, if Love's ready to go, I want him out there, and I want to get to 2-1 to set up that showdown against Minnesota. Not to look too far ahead too, but you got the Rams after that too, and that's in LA. Rams, they're so beat up. I mean, that was a team that a lot of people were high on this year. I think our buddy Brandon picked them to go to the Super Bowl. But man, their receivers, Puka, Cooper, they're banged up all over the place right now. And those guys ain't going to be playing against Green Bay. So I mean, as a fan, you'd be like, okay, you're feeling good about that, but then man, they're so banged up. All right, we got about 5 minutes to the top. Good morning, Morks.
So you got the cool room in the building.
Don't tell anybody.
Oh my gosh.
Don't tell anybody.
I'm just saying, we got a little HVAC issue here, and I think we saw on the wall of the newsroom 88.
Yeah, I got a text.
Stevie 88.
Yeah.
And I walked in here and, whoo, you got it nice. Yeah, it's like icebox man cave.
You can hang out in here, but don't tell anybody else.
I am actually going to. Hey, you got the cool clubhouse right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also Rice Krispie treat day today.
Okay.
Now, are you a cereal guy? Do you go to the cereal aisle and like if you could eat a box at a time, do you still dig into cereal as an adult?
I've actually been more of a cereal person as an adult than I was as a kid.
So what's your pick? Because cereal's like its own food group.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
All day long.
Yep.
But with whole milk, like yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
What about the rest of the family?
Hutzies goes in waves.
Does it?
There'll be a time where he'll have it like 3-4 days in a row, and then maybe it goes by a couple weeks without it.
Okay, because we're gonna do just a little Wednesday wild card here with cereal trivia. So you say if you're a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy, what's your least favorite? Like aside from tiny hay bales, which is shredded wheat masquerading as food.
No, I like those. I love shredded wheat.
What? Okay, yes, but you also put milk and sugar on them, right?
I do not put sugar. I do not put sugar. It's got to be the shredded wheat with that's frosting on it.
Okay.
So
that's just putting frosting on hay bales.
Right. So,
okay.
But yeah, I love that. I don't put sugar in it. So obviously I can't pick ones that are like peanut butter crunch.
Right.
I can't.
You can't do those. Anything you absolutely won't grab.
I'm not a big Captain Crunch guy.
Well, that's because shrapnel hurts your mouth.
Or what's the one that kicks?
No.
Seriously? Okay, so Captain Crunch made this Oops All Berries edition for a while. Maybe they still have it.
Yeah, that was the jam.
Yeah.
You had to let that soak for like 3 days if you were going to get anywhere close to it with a spoon, because by the time you were done, you had all kinds of war wounds from going into that bowl of cereal.
Yep.
But worth it? Totally worth it.
Yep.
All right, so Wednesday wildcard. Let's see how well you know it. We have Rice Krispies. What are the 3 guys on the Rice Krispies box?
I have no idea.
You liar. Everyone knows this.
Oh, Snap, Crackle, Pop.
Ding, 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 ding.
I was overthinking it a little bit.
Okay, we'll let you overthink this one because you might not know this. Now, think about a picture of like classic cornflakes.
Okay.
You got that green rooster deal on the front of it?
Yep.
Actually has a name. Do you want to take a stab at what that rooster's name is?
The only thing I could think of is the Looney Tunes rooster. What's that guy's name?
Foghorn Leghorn.
Foghorn Leghorn, yeah.
I say. No, Cornelius. That's the green rooster. Now you know. Next time you grab cornflakes, it's Cornelius, the cornflakes rooster. This one's easy. What's the name of the tiger on the box of Frosties?
Tony.
And how are they?
Great.
You got to give it more growl than that. And we're going to the moon. Apollo 11 had the first moon landing. What cereal did they eat during the first moon landing?
Was it Cheerios?
It was not Cheerios. Take
Okay.
another guess.
Wheaties?
No, I'll give you a third crack at it.
Is it a very popular one?
It's kind of a boring one.
Was it so I'm blanking on
Like cereal you wouldn't pick as a kid if you got to pick.
Bran?
Cornflakes.
Cornflake?
Cornflakes.
I was close with Wheaties. Come on.
Well, we'll talk Wheaties and we'll talk sports. You probably know this, no problem. What athlete has appeared most often on the Wheaties box?
Was it Jordan or
It was Jordan.
Was
How
it
many
Jordan?
times?
7?
Who was your other guess going to be?
Muhammad Ali.
Oh, okay. No, did that drive your cereal consumption when you were a kid because you're such a sports fanatic?
Not really.
It didn't matter who was on
No.
the box?
No.
If you were going to grab a Wheaties box today, who would have to be on it for you to like actually be inspired to take it off the shelf?
It would have to be some sort of pack or maybe Giannis. I
Giannis
did buy
Wheaties
the
would be good.
I did buy the Wheaties after the Packers won the Super Bowl.
Okay. Just to display the box?
Yep.
Okay.
And then they got flooded because I left the cereal in there and they got ruined.
Oh, yeah. You got to dump the cereal if you just
Yeah.
want the box. Yeah.
Really quick, 10 seconds. Who was the first athlete on the Wheaties box?
I do not know this. Tell the class.
Lou Gehrig.
Really?
1934?
I did not know that.
I Googled it.
Oh, you cheater. Cheater.
Here we go, second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning of September 18th. Big thanks to everybody for tuning in. Wherever, however you may be tuning in from, coming up in a little under an hour from now, we've got a little business of sports. So we'll hit that up just past 8 o'clock here this morning. We'll get back to some baseball talk here momentarily with the regular season starting to wind down here. The Brewers with a win tonight or a Cubs loss with their day game will clinch the NL Central. Twins maintaining their 1.5 game lead over the Tigers thanks to their win against the Guardians last night. Tigers did win in extra innings against the Royals. They're going to go for the sweep later on today too. So plenty of baseball talk coming up here really quick. I want to give a shout out to our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center. Carpet City Flooring Center. If you're looking to upgrade your flooring game this year, maybe kind of putting an eye towards the holiday season. Maybe you're going to be doing a lot of hosting with the holidays and such, but you kind of want to redo that flooring in your home and impress your family members or your guests. Look no further than Wisconsin's premier flooring store. That's Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Not quite sure what would look the best or work the best in your space. That team over there at Carpet City Flooring Center, they'll work with you from start to finish. They're so awesome to work with, so easy to work with. They'll find something that not only looks good in your space, works the best in your space, but fits perfectly within your budget over there too. So go check them out. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Just actually had a dream yesterday or 2 days ago about Carpet City Flooring Center redoing something in our house. It's one of those dreams where you remember a little bit of it, but not the whole thing over there. But I remember, so I can picture everybody from the store and there. But nonetheless, if you need to update that flooring, head on over to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. New segment Wednesday as well. We call it the midweek adjustments. Adjustments is a word that gets used all over sports, whether it's you think your defensive coordinator needs to make adjustments at halftime, or you need to make adjustments in terms of any type of like basketball game or pitching staff or whatever. We like to throw the word adjustments around all the time, so we might as well make a segment on it. It's the midweek adjustments over here. So I'll make my pick, and I know, Luke, you don't know what this is or anything like that. So it could be anything about, if you want to make an adjustment on your team, you want to make an adjustment or whatever the case. We're kind of moving on to the final, the second half of this week here. My midweek adjustments, I'm going to go with when the Brewers do have to, I should say have to, but when the Brewers do celebrate their division championship with champagne, champagne's on ice, right? Or spraying the beer all over the locker room, clubhouse, got goggles on. You might have to do a little bit of an adjustment here because one player who has been instrumental in this is not of legal age. That's Jackson Cheerio. Remember, he's not of legal age. Let's get some kitty cocktails on ice for him too, okay?
So you realize like the entire Brewers team could go to jail.
Probably.
Underage drinking.
Or as one person said, and I think this is as long as his parents are there, Wisconsin law. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So fly in Jackson Cheerio's parents. Wisconsin bar rules. There you go. Covered right there.
Aha.
That's the adjustment you guys got to make right now, Brewers. It was Bob Nightingale who actually wrote a piece on that. Or O'Doul's, throw those out there too. So,
okay.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that, though, to be honest with you. And I don't know if anybody really thought about that.
Yeah.
Don't have the camera on Jackson Cheerio in the celebration after it happens, okay?
Also, this would require the Brewers to actually go on a bit of a playoff run for a change. But
no, they do it when they win a division.
That's fair enough for that one. As long because they've not yet clinched a playoff spot.
No.
This and again, I don't play baseball, so I don't understand it. That's a major caveat on this. But the whole we clinched a playoff spot, champagne celebration, division championship, which actually should be worthy of one. Champagne celebration when like every little thing would clinch like second bye. Champagne celebrate, like everything is worthy of like the biggest celebration ever. Then in like football, like no one is excited about anything until you actually win a Super Bowl. Have you noticed the difference between the two? Like, I mean,
a little bit. I know, when Green Bay clinched playoff spot last year, they were lighting up stogies and everything in the locker room.
and it probably had to do with the surprise nature of that. Like, if you don't expect it, sure, and at least like I think like,
and I think baseball though too. I mean, it's a long 162 game regular season here.
It is.
So
like I mean, even walk-off games like in middle of August and the players are going bat bleep crazy. I'm like, 1 out of 162 here. Okay. Tone it down a little bit. Don't anyone step on anybody because they could knock you out for the season. And then this doesn't matter. But again, I don't play it. So no one's being a jerk about it. I mean, it's celebration. That's a good thing. But yeah, you might want to consider the alcoholic intake there.
Nah.
Given the no, for Jackson.
No, I'm saying, yeah, I get that. If anybody throws a fit about it, just stay quiet, okay?
About Jackson Churio?
Yes. Yes.
Stop. He's underage.
So what? It's Wisconsin. Come on. You play for a team that's Brewers, for crying out loud.
That's the thing.
If anybody makes a stink about it, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Thank you, DOS Effects and this Ice Cube.
Yes. But no, it was like, it's actually a USA Today article by Bob Nightingale yesterday.
Really?
O'Doul's in Milwaukee. Phenom Jackson Churio can't drink in Brewers postseason party. Literally written by Bob Nightingale.
Pretty good writer.
Yeah,
too.
like a baseball guy. Like a baseball guy, too. I mean, one of the top baseball guys out there.
Yes.
So, Freddie Peralta said, "Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. What are we going to do, man? We've got to hurry up and think about what we're going to do, right? Make adjustments."
Yeah.
Make adjustments.
Yes.
Over there. Willie Adamas said, "I know what we could do. We're going to get him some apple juice. We'll have a champagne shower, and he's going to get an apple juice shower. We can't get him into trouble."
That's going to be sticky.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Contreras says, "Great question. He's just 20, right? That's a problem. So water, lots and lots of water." Eric Haas, though, I don't think anyone's going to be enforcing any rules. He's a huge part of this team. He should be able to do anything he wants.
I mean, at what point is this going to lead to Jackson Churio getting drunk, getting like in an accident or stumbling over something, and then he's out?
Oh, we don't want to think negative stuff like that.
But like
Luke.
that's not gonna happen, though.
Well,
that's
don't even throw that out
like
there. Come
on.
on.
But who even does that at these celebrations? Like, you don't see people stumbling around drunk at these things.
Well, somebody got hurt. Was it Devin Williams? I think actually got hurt Wasn't that last year?
Oh, that's right.
Like something, he punched the shower. Something happened. I thought it was Devin Williams. I'll have to double check it. But somebody did. I'll have to look at it.
Well, and also the caveat on all this, let's remember, nobody under the age of actual 21 years exactly ever drinks anything.
Yeah, it was Devin Williams in 2021 suffered a hand injury from punching a wall after Brewers celebration. Yeah.
Okay. It's probably also some adrenaline going on there too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure alcohol is a factor, but there are a lot of other factors in sports that can lead to injuries that have to do with how your body's working and your emotions and stuff like that.
So, yeah, Freddie Peralta was the one that came up with the old duels option out there. I got it, Peralta blurted out. I got it. We'll get some non-alcoholic beers and spray them.
Cool.
You know those old duels?
Yes.
That'll be perfect.
Yes.
I know we've got to do something because he's meant way too much for this team. Just another adversity that this young Brewers team has to continue to overcome.
Hey, you know what? They've now opened up the gap over the Cubs for a change. It's up to a 10-game lead.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, you can start to breathe easy in Milwaukee.
Brewers, I think I saved it yesterday here too. So the Brewers, they will be going to the playoffs. We know this. They're going to. But the Brewers, that means from 2018 to 2024, the team has made the playoffs more from that stretch than from 1969 to 2017, which, if you think about it, not that, 2008 was kind of the breaking point there, but then, 18 to 24, the team has made the playoffs more than the combined from 69 to 17. Only the Dodgers, Houston, and Atlanta have more in that time. Here's the thing, though. Brewers got to join those other three and actually win a championship, too.
Also that, too. And I mean, of course, there's the big asterisk of, well, I mean, if there had been more playoff spots, I can about guarantee the Brewers would have had a bunch more playoff appearances over time with some of the teams that had some really good teams that didn't make the playoffs because one team from the division, sorry, you're out. You have 100 games. Sorry.
But 6 playoffs in the last 7 years.
That's better than a lot of teams in recent history. That's good. So what are they up to? 134 run differential. That is the best in Major League Baseball by 2 over the Yankees right now. And easily the best in the National League. Yeah.
Still the best record in the National League with teams over 500 against teams over 500.
There's a lot to like about this team right now. They were coming up last week. ESPN was doing their who's got the best shot, one of those. They're polling folks around. And the Brewers were a common choice among either writers or when they're talking to team execs of a team that isn't getting a lot of attention because, of course, understandably, it's going to the Phillies and Dodgers. But the Brewers were like the other team, oh yeah, watch out with everything they got going on right now. They're so well rounded, they could go on a deep playoff run.
I don't want to think of this in a negative sense. What if? So you mentioned deep playoff run. Let's say they get to the NLCS and lose 6 and 7, whatever it is. You know what's going to happen is going to be the big what if. What if they had Yelich? Would that have been enough to take it over the top?
Probably depends also on how they lose the games.
Right. Yeah, if they're losing 12-10 or something like that, then it's, okay, they had enough offense, obviously.
Right.
But no, that's that's just in the back of my mind is are we going to be talking about that what if at some point? Because he was having a really good season too.
Yeah.
It's not like Yelich is done, but he was batting .202 for the season with 2 home runs.
Shades of Raleigh Fingers, 1982. I mean, I'm going back, but that's the one. They're the general consensus for those that don't know. If Raleigh Fingers doesn't get injured, the Brewers very, very likely win the 1982 World Series. That was the difference maker right there.
And I know, obviously we've seen teams do it without Atlanta did it without Ronald Acuna Jr. too, but they also had some other guys on that team that were pretty good. But still, there's been examples.
Usually when you lose one of your most talented players, that hurts the team by definition.
Right. Yes. Especially when they're having a really good season too, which Yelich was up to that point. So, we got a battle though between your Twins and Tigers right now, holding on by the slimmest of slims at this point in time.
I mean, great that the Twins actually beat the Guardians yesterday. That's cool. There's another article yesterday was going through what are the odds of all the likely or current playoff teams are going on a run, and the Twins had the lowest chance because they have a poor record against over 500 teams across the board. Their bullpen is not great. They held on last night. Griffin Jacks, former Eau Claire Express pitcher.
Yep.
He's done some good things. He's given up some things too this year. So they got the save last night and a couple nights ago. So, but it's not all on him. It's the overall nature of the team. Like how they pointed out, they finally got Buxton and Correa and Lewis back, and then they lost 11-1. Royce Lewis has not been playing well for a while now. He's been back since early August. His numbers are meh. He has crashed back to earth. I'm not entirely sure why, because he's healthy now. I know he was upset about moving positions. I don't know if that's leaching into his play where he's just no, I don't like this. And so he's distracted. I don't know if he's just missing the ball or what, but Royce Lewis is turning more into an average player, at least in the short term. We're not going to make long projections here. So, if they make the playoffs, they're okay. It'll be in and out, and at least they don't have the burden of that long streak. If they're out, they're out. This is not a team built for a long run. And the Tigers may yet get over them, but again, even a game and a half seems like it could be easy to get. The Tigers still got to get over them. Plus, hey, if the Twins win today and the Tigers win today, then the Twins are a half game back of the Royals. The Royals could fall back into this too. There are other elements to this as well. I know Orioles fans right now are like, what the heck? They are crashing as well. Yankees have finally established.
Are you saying the White Sox have a chance? I'm just kidding.
White Sox, hey, they're up to 36 wins.
Don't
They
look now, man.
I know.
There,
Break up
the
the
rest
Sox.
of the AL Central right now. You better be happy. You only have 2 more weeks left of the regular season.
Hey, Detroit has that last series of the season against Chicago. Be careful what you wish for. Seriously, how that goes. But no, I don't have any optimism for the season for the Twins.
So, not to look too far ahead, is Rocco back then next year?
I don't know. I mean, yes, again, if you poll Twins fans, and I've said this so many times before, you poll Twins fans, they'll be like, can we fire him within like minutes of the end?
So why do Twins fans not like Rocco? Explain it for maybe the rest of, who are non-Twins fans.
Seems to be an extra emphasis on analytics. He'll pull pitchers seemingly early. He seems to be one of those.
So is it council-esque?
Kind of, but maybe even more robotically so, to the point where like it almost seems like he's going, and he hasn't said this, but it almost seems, to caricature it, he's going by, the book says at this point you got to pull. And then the reliever comes in and then blows the game. Like, well, why did you do that? Well, because analytics say he buys into it. And there's a lot to like about that, but that's probably the biggest complaint. There have been other complaints about who he's playing on given days. Why is this guy getting arrested? Why is this guy in the lineup here? So, which is a lot of the usual manager complaints, but a lot of it has to do with the pitching. When a guy seems to be doing fine as a starter, he gets pulled and the bullpen gets rocked. So, that I think he'll be back. I think, unless the Twins really collapse, and then you'd have like an easy out. But also, supposedly, he is a great players manager. Way better than Molitor was. That's been a big asset for Baldelli. So then we go back to the question of, if he's following the analytics, is he doing that knowing full well that he also has been given a bullpen that isn't that good because of maybe a combination of his management, or more likely because the Pohlats are too freaking cheap because they want to turn a profit more so than win a baseball game. If you can hear the sarcasm in my voice, it should be loud and clear down to the Gulf Coast.
Well, you paid for Correa.
We did. Yeah, they did. Sorry. They did pay for Correa. And
part of your paycheck is going over to Correa.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Then he gets plantar fasciitis. Is like, I'll come back when I come back. Wait, now he's back. Okay, to be fair. Like, I don't want to turn this into a knock on Correa thing. They did, but then they turn around this year. They're like, well, because of our RSN situation, we're going to cut payroll. And then they didn't spend. And they made one move at the trade deadline for a guy that they DFA'd shortly thereafter. So that was a total waste. It's like they seemingly made the move just to make a move, and it didn't turn out at all. Yeah, I mean, honestly, as much as the whole fire Rocco is a thing, if you really ask Twins fans, would you rather have a new owner, new general manager, or new regular manager? They'd say new owner first.
Too bad A-Rod couldn't buy that team instead of the Timberwolves, huh?
Gosh. I'm still surprised by how many people like A-Rod as Timberwolves owner. That still blows my mind. These must be people too young to remember anything. Or like I said, the hate, sports hate, but the dislike for Glenn Taylor is that intense that they wanted Alex Rodriguez, of all people, to be the owner. Yeah, the thing that keeps burning me is going back to the aughts, and we need Target Field to financially compete. Well, you got Target Field. Now you can't financially compete? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But Baldelli, but then again, Baldelli was also, when we checked a week ago, it's either 4th or 5th in Manager of the Year odds. And not anywhere close to actually winning, but he's up there for the American League, way more than most other managers. I think because he's done a good job of going with the triage when the big stars have been out. I mean, he's managed to get something out of like Matt Wallner, Kyle Farmer. Some of those guys have really offensively produced when they needed it. They've held on. I mean, as much as we've been ripping on the Twins and not being able to get up to the top of the division, they've been in the playoff hunt all season long. Let's look at the big picture. They're still there. They haven't moved that much. So Baldelli can't suck that much if they're still right around there. And it may be a combination of the injuries and some stew that's not working right now. And maybe that's Baldelli's fault. But I don't know that he's going to be fired after the season. There'll be plenty of angry Twins fans, probably a majority. But unless they collapse for the rest of this month, I think Baldelli's back next year.
All right. Okay, we got to take a quick break here. So we're going to do that right now. But we'll be back here in a little bit. We'll get back to some more baseball talk as well. We got a little bit more football chat lined up. Join us. What's on your mind? Hit us up with a text, tweet, Facebook, comment on the video stream. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This Friday, we're going to be over at the Blue Marble Pub in Chippewa Falls for a little Oktoberfest breakfast. Going to take the Mobile Man Cave over there. Big shout out to Carpet City Flooring Center, Toyson Ford, Woods and Water Realty, the Elbow Room, our partners with the Mobile Man Cave there. But from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., kegs and eggs going on at Blue Marble Pub there. So grab your breakfast there. Brandon and I are going to be doing a podcast from the Mobile Man Cave. Speaking of Mike Star Markets, we're going to be grilling out some brats and doing a little podcast taste testing stuff over there too. So that's this Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., the 4th annual Kegs and Eggs Oktoberfest kickoff.
Okay, so when is this taste testing?
I'm not telling you, so you don't show up and hog everything.
Well, how am I going to taste?
I can't forecast. Who says you're invited to?
You invited me last week.
I told you about it. I didn't say you're going to be one of the taste testers.
Well, that sucks.
I can't forecast it. It depends on when we're done.
Okay.
Load up the Mole Man Cave.
Okay.
Go over there, fire up the grills.
Okay.
Got to find the spot. Then set up stuff. So, I might want breakfast first too.
Oh, that's true.
So you can't rush a tailgate. Can't rush it.
It's true. I have not been to an actual, I've not done a tailgate.
Wow.
Seriously, I realized that was when I went to my last Brewers game. I'm like, I've been to a tailgate, but I've never done a tailgate.
Okay, so you've never hosted or done your own.
Right.
Okay, so when you say you've been to one, have you been to a legit one or like a company hosting one?
It was a legit one, and it was actually because we were going to a company one at what was then Miller Park, but then we happened to walk by an actual tailgate, and of course, because it's an actual tailgate, they're like, "Yeah, come on in." I'm like, "My gosh, how have I made it this long without getting to an actual tailgate?" Because that's usually what happens is because of the distance of the games. You plan it okay, we got to get there right at this time and get into the ballpark, get in, and then get on the car and drive. So one sucky thing about living so far away from Milwaukee, and I mean to a lesser extent Green Bay, but you end up thinking more about the drive than the tailgating. Yeah. Whereas if we live closer, I mean, then it's like, okay, cool, we got all day long. Yeah, and I know I feel like I've been robbed all my life because wow, this is all sorts of stuff. And of course, then you go to the tailgate, but you're like, well, we got all this free food coming inside too. So I got a taste of it, But yeah, finally, at least I've been to one, but I've never hosted one.
All right.
That needs to change at some point in my life.
Well, do you own a grill?
Yes, I do.
A portable one?
No, I don't.
Okay. Start with that.
Right. I mean, I have a smaller one that I could bring down. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like I got some massive one only. But
I know you Vikings people don't like tailgating, so that's...
Hey, remember, the Vikings tailgating scene matched the Packers tailgating scene up through 81. Seriously, you go back, it was the same thing. And then Minnesota was
you sound like a Bears fan right now.
But it was absolutely, it was true. The tailgating scene.
Okay, but I'm just saying you sound like an 85 Bears fan right now.
Yeah, that's at least I'm cognizant enough to, unlike the Bears fans that still are stuck on 1985, at least I'm like, you know what? We don't have it anymore. Man, we can't compare. Packers, you got it. Mm-hmm. We don't. That's it. Let's be real. We don't.
I feel like there's a tailgating content idea that's there, and I don't know what it is right now. I mean, we do a lot of man cave stuff, but there's got to be a tailgating thing out there, right? There's got to be like a tailgating thing out there.
You'd think.
My mind is just not going there right now, so I'm open up to some ideas. It's just not flowing there. It's probably because I had some not great coffee this morning, so I'm not.
That doesn't help. So, what's the two places that I know of that are? Well, okay, 3 places that I know of that are great for tailgating: Packers, Brewers, and Chiefs. There's got to be probably a couple others.
Buffalo.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. That was a major oversight.
Yep.
So there's at least, I'm going to say at least 4. I don't want to cap it at 4 because I know there's going to be a couple others I'm forgetting.
I mean, there's probably a lot of Division I college ones. I'm not going to be. You Camp Randall before a Badger game is different. It's still a must to go and to experience it. It's different in terms of the parking because it's very unique. you might have to wait a while to get out. That sort of thing. It is, but yes, tailgating at a Badger football game is something I'd throw in there too. And I know that's home, but there's got to be other Division I, like college football ones I haven't experienced.
Well, then there's like, what's your definition of tailgating? Because you could get to like the Grove down with Ole Miss. That's
Right.
not necessarily tailgating, but it is it's more of a pregame party. But it's essentially it's the same thing. It just doesn't involve a bunch of cars with charcoal grills, but it's the same thing.
Well, I don't know who wrote this article, but this is from whatever WSN.com is, but this was from last year. They ranked their tailgates pro football wise.
World Sports Network.
Okay. Well, the Cardinals are number 2.
Why?
I don't even know if I want to read why.
Unless it's okay. I know they got a lot of parking around the stadium there. Are these transplants?
Number of 4+ 5-star reviews mentioning food. They got what the hell? Anyway, okay. You just lost some credibility. Arizona, Buffalo's 3, Baltimore's 4. I've heard about Baltimore. Denver's 5, Green Bay 6.
What?
Yeah.
What? And does it give any explanation?
Here we go. Cards fans are lucky enough to spend their Sundays in one of the league's best facilities, but the surroundings of the State Farm Stadium aren't the only attraction on game days. That's because Arizona was a surprise runner-up in our rankings of gridiron greatest tailgate experiences. Though they may lack the iconic traditions and passionate fan bases of their other franchise, the pregame festivities in Glendale scored highly on our index thanks to affordable ticket prices. Well, ticket price shouldn't matter in tailgating, in my opinion, in a comfortable climate. Okay, come on.
No.
Which means during football season, fans can soak in some sunshine while the rest of the league shivers. That to me does not. No.
Wimps.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Wimps.
Yeah, what the heck?
No, you just lost some credibility there. Come on. Give me a break.
I mean, we might as well extend tailgating to restaurants around the area while we're at it.
For crying out. That right up there did not convince me one way or the other that they should be number 2. For crying out loud. that grinds my Wednesday gears now.
Jeez.
But yeah, I'm trying to think what other locations would be really good ones out there that I've heard of, because I haven't really gone to a whole lot of other ones outside of Wisconsin, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, you hear about Buffalo and you hear about Kansas City quite a bit.
Fair enough for those places. I'm blanking on some of the others. I'm sure they have.
Would Tennessee be a good one? I feel like Tennessee would be a good one.
You'd think they would be. I don't know what the parking situation is there. And I don't think that's really going to change when they move to the new stadium, which is literally right next door. I don't know about them. I would think Philadelphia would. They got a lot of parking. That's the thing. You need to have parking lots.
Philly fans scare me, though.
I don't know how that would go. Like, if you're walking around, could you just join one, or are you going to end up?
I think if you're wearing a Philly jersey, you could.
Yeah. Actually, what would scare me more is like Dodgers territory or Rams territory or something like that. Then you might actually legit get in a fight and actually end up injured.
What would I don't know if it matters in Vegas anymore, but what was the Raiders one like? With the black hole. Or Cleveland. Cleveland's got to have a decent one, right? Come on.
I think they got enough parking around there. But again, like
the Dog Pound, Cleveland's got to have a legit tailgating site.
But again, does that translate? Yeah, right. Does it translate to outdoor tailgating, or is it an indoor thing? Sometimes you could have a great indoor fan base, but like there's no room to.
This is why Green Bay is legit. They have an indoor and outdoor space for you.
Right.
The Johnsonville one over there, the indoor, it's always packed, but the real people go out there outside on their grills.
I'm trying to see, is there any other ranking the best NFL tailgate cities? I'm looking for other ones. And there's a whole lot of those.
I mean, I've tailgated at Lambeau for a playoff game that I didn't have tickets for.
Tailgater Magazine has the top 10 NFL tailgating.
There's a magazine on this. Why am I not a subscriber?
Well, there you go. Tailgater Magazine. You can contact them, and there's a print or a digital option.
Okay.
Their list. Now, they've got Green Bay 6th, but ahead of them, Buffalo's number 1. Cleveland is number 2. The Superdome is number 3.
Okay, so New Orleans?
Yes.
I was kind of wondering about...
Let's put it that way, because they got a big plaza. Denver is number 4.
Okay.
I understand that. And Pittsburgh is number 5.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at those environments make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have Green Bay at 6 though, but
Yeah, why
better than Arizona.
I still don't get that.
Environment, weather. Give me a break.
There was one that lists the most hardcore tailgaters.
Okay, we got to be top 2 in that one.
Packers did not make the top 10 list.
Are you kidding me?
Saints
right
1,
now?
Titans 2, Eagles 3, Lions 4, Cowboys 5,
Lions?
Rams with their
okay.
6th. Yeah. Falcons 7th.
We need some okay, that's just these people are not credible.
This is from crestline.com.
Yeah, I've never heard of you, so they're not credible.
It's a metric sort of thing.
Okay, when you do metrics, stop it.
What is Crestline?
That sounds like a shipping
items.
place.
Promotional items.
I hear Crestline, I think of cruises.
Yeah. Top tailgating parties in the NFL from Betway Insider. What do they have? They have the Packers ranked number 9.
Okay, so I think this is the idea.
With the Vikings ahead of them.
Oh. Okay. So
Even I'm like, wow, wait, what?
Okay. Those people have obviously never gone to tailgates. Okay, I think we've got it now. I think we got it. We come up with our own tailgate tour. And I will volunteer to do this. But we find a partner or sponsor that will send me to 32 NFL stadiums to tailgates. And then I will come up with the ultimate list here. How about that?
I like that.
Our tailgate tour.
Tailgatingideas.com.
Oh, God.
They, yes, Kansas City was number 1. This was published when the Raiders are still in Oakland. Now, okay. Arrowhead, the Coliseum, the Link, all with 15. Then Baltimore, Buffalo, Carolina, Cleveland, and Green Bay, all with a 14. And Pittsburgh.
Carolina?
Yeah. Carolina. Now, again, this was back when they were still in Oakland. So before we go all hot, LOL.
Well, no, Carolina wasn't in Oakland, though.
Say what?
Carolina.
See, okay, it's the accessibility, and let's see, it's a slow building tradition there, because there isn't a big parking lot, but they seem to have their own. Each lot has its own vibe. They also make a big thing out of accessibility, which really to be fair, it's accessibility and tailgating. The tailgating score for Lambeau is a 10 out of 10.
Accessibility at Lambeau is not the greatest.
And they're factoring that in, and that's a 4 out of 10. It's one of the lowest rankings you're going to find. But at least they acknowledge that actual tailgating is top notch, even if it's it's tied for second.
But you know what we do as Packers fans when we want to tailgate? We adjust. We adjust.
Yeah.
We adapt to our surroundings. We make it work.
Right.
We make it work. I want to know how many other stadiums have cold dump out pits like Lambeau does.
Probably not a lot.
That's the type of rankings we're looking for, not all this other garbage. Do you have a cold dumping spot so you don't start car fires? Are you allowed to tailgate 10 hours, 12 hours before a game? I've done it. That sort of stuff. Not weather crap. Come on.
Fanimal.com ranked the top 10.
How many porta potties do you have available for people?
That is true. Fanimal.com ranked the top 10 best tailgate cities. Green Bay did not make the list.
For crying out loud.
Arizona, number 2.
That's not a city. That's a state.
Well, I mean, there's a wide open expanse. See, if you want space, you got it. Desert. The Cardinals keep coming up in these lists.
This is really pissing me off right now. I'm just saying, Lucas.
Though, to be fair, this is starting to make me wonder if maybe the Cardinals have a bit of a hidden gem down there. I mean, if they keep making the list, there must be something great going on.
Then this is maybe why we need to come up with this idea of our tailgate tour. And again, anybody listen, I will volunteer to take on this task. I will volunteer to take on this quest. It's kind of like, I mean, maybe we can make this into a Travel Channel feature. They've got all these cooking and visiting shows and all that stuff. I'm like the Anthony Bourdain of tailgating.
That's an interesting way to put it. The Brewers, by the way, bookies.com ranked 10th in pregame baseball experience.
You know, nobody's I don't think anybody with these have never even gone to Wisconsin to tailgate. I don't think they
Just
have.
like they forget about this place.
You know, I think they don't want to come. And you know what? We don't want you. Okay. Go
Probably
away.
better than having all sorts of outsiders coming. Because yeah, here we are in Wisconsin. Like, we need to take a trip to Phoenix and check it out. Like, that waters it down. Like, we don't want people coming in and like, oh, what's this tailgate thing? What's this sausage you're eating? Like, no, get out of here.
You're really motivating me right now with this jabberoni talk right now. This is firing me up right now. I think I've found what I've been put onto this earth to do. And it's to, right the wrongs.
Yeah, here's where AI sucks. So there's Google's generative AI, and you've probably seen that in searches of late. I blocked it because some of it was coming up with really like, what? This might be an example of that. Google's AI at the top of their search. Here are some of the top Major League Baseball stadiums for tailgating: Camden Yards, PNC Park, AT&T Park, Safeco Field, now T-Mobile, Dodger Stadium, Citi Field, Lone Depot Park in Miami, Petco Park, Coors Field, and former Skydome.
We need to take a break. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. Mind you that this keeps referring to the stadium is referred to as one of the ballparks for food. They're not even like, this is great for tailgating. And then half of the stadiums they list are because of the stadium and not the tailgating. Way to go, AI.
All right, we're going to take a break.
Future sucks.
Yeah. This just ruined my whole morning now.
You know what we need to do? We should have a tailgate this morning.
Or did it.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Now I've got a mission. A mission from God.
A mission from God.
Speaking of tailgating, your tailgating headquarters is right here, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Whether it's supplies for the grill, snacks to snack on during the game, or maybe you're needing some apparel to represent your favorite teams, you can get all of your tailgating needs at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. You got some damn good burgers you can put on the grill, or some 6-packs of Man Cave Lights over there too. Again, just thought of this too. People would pay attention. The Brewers are selling postseason tickets. They're going on sale on Friday, okay? And they're having an event. They're grilling brats at 6 a.m. If that's not numero uno or one of the top tailgating things out there, you're grilling at 6 a.m. I will say I do question this though. Because I was watching the game the other night when BA was on the call. Now I don't know if there's a backstory to this. I really don't. But he made a comment that I'm like, really? Because they're talking about the promo they're having Friday. It's like, Robin Yount's going to be there. Pat Murphy's going to be, Donald Driver's going to be there. BA made a comment. He's like, that might be my one brat of the year might be there. I'm like, wait, what? BA only has one brat a year?
Why?
I don't know if there's a backstory to it or not, but I heard him say that. I'm like, BA, I love you, man. So unless there's something, that we don't know, health-wise, whatever, maybe just can't.
That would be understandable then.
But if it's just for other, I don't know.
If I had one brat a week, I'd be happy.
We have it like twice a week.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. What's the limit? Daily brats? 3 brats a day? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
It's a versatile food. You can have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
It is. It's a sausage, so that works for breakfast.
Yeah.
Lunch and dinner, obs. I mean, dessert, okay, yeah, that's not happening, but why?
Shepherd's pie, he could probably throw that in there.
I suppose it depends on this. This sounds like Chopped. You need to put in bratwurst, kale, baby formula, and cocoa nibs. Like, what are you going to make with that? And somehow you make dessert. And that's actually really good.
All right. There's something there that needs to be done, and I'm going to think about it a little bit. So, something with the tailgate. Something with the tailgate.
Okay.
Gotta be. There just has to be. So,
I wonder what's the best tailgate in the Chippewa Valley in terms of like high schools. Which one does the best job?
Well, I know, Blue Gold's Carson Park tailgate up over there too.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. I'm genuinely curious. Are there a lot of high school ones that go on? I know back in Medford there was, but
I don't know if that's a thing. I mean, like a big thing. I
know, like back in the day, make me sound old. Like a lot of the parents of booster clubs would do it to raise money for that. So, which is smart, right? Yeah. Smart to do it that way,
right?
So, maybe that's the tour. Maybe that's the tour or something like that.
A Chippewa Valley tailgating tour would be pretty cool too, because at least then it's like easy to drive around. You get plenty of brats and plenty of burgers and plenty of everything you want from a tailgate because everyone gets it around here. You're not going to go to some place you're like, this is what you call a tailgate?
I still think that somebody needs to send me, I'm volunteering for this quest to 32 NFL stadiums.
I still want to do the ballpark tour. All the baseball stadiums. And that might have to wait till retirement, which knowing how I end up working, it's never going to happen. But if it does, and I have enough money to go around, yes, I got to do the go to every stadium thing. I got that book. It's in my office. The book from 1988 was a Dodger Dogs to Fenway Franks, and someone went to all, at that time it was 26 stadiums in one summer and did evaluations of every single one. So this is County Stadium, Metrodome era. It was a really interesting book, and I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I do know one person, listener of the show, Browner. Shout out. No, he's teaching right now, so he would be listening. He's gone to every stadium.
Baseball? Okay.
It wasn't over like a month. It was over the course of several years, but there were a few ballpark tours in there, and so kind of envious of that. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I'd be about with the football ones. I do the football ones. Although now they're all changing every couple of years too. So
that's part of the problem. Like, oh, well, now you got to go again. This place just opened up. So, well, he got the new Buffalo place. Would you rather see the new Buffalo Stadium or go to I still call it Rich Stadium?
I'd rather go. I'm more of the history one.
Yeah.
That's why I wish the Polo Grounds were still around and not apartment buildings over that.
Yep. That kind of sucks, but
yep.
No.
Why would they do that to the Polo Grounds? Gosh.
It was
okay.
the 50s and 60s. We have progress.
Oh,
Oh,
dang it. All right. 2 in. We got one more to go. Business sports coming up. Oh, maybe that's a business sports idea. Tailgate tour. All right. News updates. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Flying on by, it's the third hour, final hour. I was going to say final.
Tailgating too much.
Apparently, holy moly there. Final hour on this Wednesday morning coming at you. We're going to get back to some more baseball talk coming up here in just a bit. We'll probably throw a little more football talk in here too, as the Packers will return to practice today. Maybe get our first glimpse whether Jordan Love will do anything at practice, and maybe kind of get an idea of what the plan is going to be for this weekend. Will it be a Malik Willis revenge game against Tennessee, or will Jordan Love make his, or will Jordan Love get back on the field for the green and gold? So we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. We'll get back to some more of your thoughts and such, but we lead off this hour with a business of sports, and we're going to the college world on this one. And I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about this story, but the Tennessee Volunteers are going to increase their ticket prices at 10%, by 10%, and that 10% will go to NIL. Tennessee Athletic Department will include a talent fee and raise prices on fans to account for potential NIL revenue sharing. Just reading a little bit here from SI.com. University of Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White recently announced that the university is implementing a new 10% surcharge on ticket prices for the upcoming 2025-26 season. The strategic move comes in response to a potential NIL revenue sharing for college athletes that could arrive as early as next season and cost the most prominent schools roughly $22 million annually. White has aptly monikered the new cost a, quote, talent fee. The talent fee implicates both single game and season ticket sales and will complement the projected average 4.5% increase in ticket sales at their stadium in the coming year. White stated, quote, "It's going to our student athletes as part of this new world order in college sports, so I know our fans will embrace it." Well, when you talk about increasing ticket prices, you think it's a foregone conclusion fans are going to embrace it right away?
Good question. But does it help the team win?
That's the other question.
That's the biggest thing. By the way, I had to double check that was not the Danny White Dallas Cowboys quarterback. No relation. Totally different Danny White. That's interesting. This is the first, really. But then I'm almost certainly not the last. I don't know that everyone's going to do that, but 10% surcharge. But if that leads to,
if you were a fan of a college football team, or maybe an alum, put it for if you were Badgers and such, and would you be willing to pay a little bit more to, or maybe you were a team that's kind of on the brink of competing for national championships, put yourself in that fan shoes, would you be okay with forking over a little bit more cash if it meant it was going to the players to kind of hopefully keep your team competitive?
Well, I guess
certain schools would be like, yeah, right, we're never competitive anyway, so why would I pay more?
Right. Why even bother getting into it? I guess if anyone heard RJ yesterday, side note, listen to that on the Man Cave podcast. That was some
you heard it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was some fire. Maybe it doesn't matter who you bring in, ultimately, because okay, cool, we can spend more money on NIL stuff, but what difference is it going to make? Which leads to the second point, though. Okay, so Tennessee does it. I'm sure at some point Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State are all going to do it, and everyone's going to do it. So basically, everything's even. It's just everyone is collectively paying approximately 10% more. So there's more money to go to the players. That's, good for them because they're relative to the sport. Yes, they should be making some of the revenue. But it's going to be all equal. So if everything is all equal, would you rather play for Purdue or play for Georgia?
Right.
Would you rather play for Tennessee or play for Georgia? You'd probably rather play for Georgia. It's not as huge of a gap as compared to some schools, but you'd still rather play for the iconic programs that have the best shots of getting a high. I got to recalibrate. Getting a high seed in the college football playoff. But that's the thing. Tennessee's got an advantage now. I don't think that's a permanent advantage anywhere close to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to play along because let's just say Wisconsin. This is not a commentary on where they are now. But what if they just said, no, we're not going to do that. We don't think we should. Okay, well, now you've got a big disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to make that up? What's the thing? Do you have a collective? But the collective might go away if this settlement still goes through, which I know yesterday I saw they're making progress on it. Presuming it does, the collective thing really gets, I know there's also a salary cap too, but you got to find ways to make the money. And everyone's going to have to do what Tennessee's doing.
I feel like, and maybe I'm just being broad with this, but I feel like if teams like Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, or whatever did this, fans may grumble a little bit, but they'll still be like, yeah, okay. Because, I mean, they're always in a conversation of winning a national championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're always there. But what if the Badgers did this? You know, what would the reaction be from Badgers fans? I don't know. Like, I understand universities, they got to come up with ways. You know, it is a new world, right? It's a brand new world out there. So, I mean, you see universities coming up with unique ways. I mean, the Badger varsity, right? They're trying to get NIL there. They've got beer sales, their own beer now to try to come up with that. So, I mean, universities have to find ways to figure out how to pay their athletes now. So, I mean, is it going to the fan base? I mean, you know, to raise ticket prices? I don't know if it's the right way. I feel like some programs, it won't be as big of a deal. Some, yeah, you're probably going to have some very vocal displeased fans. So you're a Gopher fan. I mean, are you rowing the boat to paying more ticket prices if you could?
So they can peak out at like 8 or 9 wins a season?
Right.
Because that's probably what's going to end up happening. I don't know. They don't always sell out that stadium. The students are, I mean, there are a lot of passionate ones, but there are a lot of times you look at the student section. And I know Badger fans will say the same thing, like, hey, a lot of silver bleachers in the student section at Camp Randall. That it's a thing around the country, but then that also gets to the whole thing of student sections, and they're not as big of a deal because Gen Z is not interested in going to football games anymore. I'm overstating it, but it's kind of a thing. Like if you're not doing that, then then you're not going to compete. But if you don't do it, then I don't know the exact answer on this. Now I see, like in Tennessee's case, student ticket prices last year were $10. Now they're $20. They'll be $25 next year.
Okay.
So now
not 25 a game, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The cheapest season ticket next year for the Volunteers will be $453.75 in the family section in the upper deck. Season ticket. So, I mean, it's definitely going up, but there are going to be other ways to make money. We talked before that there's the potential for like more naming rights. At what point do we end up having so-and-so insurance field at Camp Randall?
Right. Yep.
That could be coming. And I think that's almost worse because then you're not going to be hearing Camp Randall. You're going to constantly hear this business name in there. And it's the professionalization of sports. This is kind of like the PSLs, the 10% surcharge. It's kind of like that in the NFL for when new stadiums would be built and you get the personal seat licenses that bring in more money. And that's the only reason why they exist.
I feel like, you know, this could work again. I think this could work for those universities where fans treat their teams like how Packers fans treat their team. Like there's certain schools, right? That's college football is life or death to them. Mm-hmm. That's their thing. It doesn't matter about their NFL team. It's they're the college football team over there. But then, you know, I think some schools can do this. I think some universities can do it. I don't think all of them can do this though, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, I don't want to just throw in like Northwestern, but honestly, the students are probably well-heeled enough that they can pull that off. But of course, it's also going to be relative. I don't have the exact ticket prices for all stadiums right in front of me, but I would have to imagine the places that host the biggest schools charging more. So 10% necessarily is going to involve more dollars than a group of 5 school. The lower tier group of 5 school, especially.
So I'm going to throw this. This just popped in my mind, and I don't know how it all works. Me and math, we're not good, and all that. But like, you got these universities that will pay schools to come play them, right, in the early parts of the season, right? We see that. We know that happens.
Or they back out like they're Wake Forest.
Right. That's what I was thinking about. Was Wake Forest? They'll back out. Because now teams have to pay athletes, and are we going to see a decrease in that, or you know what I mean? Like, could that be cut out of that potentially?
Maybe maybe so.
You know where I'm going with that?
You
Like,
got to save money,
right,
for your own players instead of bringing in some other school.
right.
Now that would probably lessen the South Dakota at Wisconsin games. Like, well, what? I mean, every year that's happened for a long time.
Or Northern Illinois defeating Notre Dame, that sort of stuff.
There'll still be some of that. Again, it depends school by school.
Right.
How some schools are good with like, okay, yeah, let's bring these in. It's reps for our team. It's an quote unquote easy
exposure, win. Or I was thinking about from the other smaller teams over there. Yeah.
They've got that too.
Yep.
Now, of course, they also want the money.
Right.
Do the big schools want to spend all of that money? And again, it goes both ways, because you could be spending that money on players, but you can also be spending that money to basically have a preseason game and again boost up your ratings, which your college football ratings. However, everything that goes into the committee, blah 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 blah, college football playoff, et cetera, all of that. So that's an interesting point, though. And does that mean you're going to have more higher caliber opponents, or maybe I should say similar caliber opponents? So is Wisconsin going to have more games against the likes of Alabama's and fewer against the likes of South Dakota going forward? Which would be a better schedule for Wisconsin than I mean, as someone who follows college football, I'm far more interested in the Badgers playing ACC and Big 12 and the current Pac-6, now eventually Pac-8, and et cetera, than a D2 school or really, like I said, low-tier group of 5 school. That's more exciting. I mean, with the Gophers, like when they're playing Nevada and Rhode Island, yeah, okay, great. They blew out both teams. They had shutouts. Awesome. I don't really care that much because, like, yeah, you're supposed to do that. I want to see against bigger, like more similar opponents. And if it leads to that as a fan, I'm actually okay with that. Even if it leads to more losses, which it would, the quality of the entertainment and what you can do if you win those games means more, big picture. And then if you save your money and you can spend that more on players, okay, we're trying to win games here.
So, I mean, it almost comes down to, and this would be difficult because they schedule games like, before people are born right now, that far in advance. But it's like you almost feel like, okay, if that's going to be a thing, you need a central scheduler at that point, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like pro sports.
Yes.
You're just like, okay, you're not paying this team to go. This is who you're playing. I guess a Big Ten central, whatever, an NCAA football central scheduler sort of thing.
I think if you did have a break off, if this notion of a super league or super conference and that has nothing to do with the NCAA, we've heard that speculated a lot, but there's nothing concrete of that happening. But if it did, then I think there's top-down organizational approaches to this that involve like full scheduling, like the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. You would not see rogue like, oh, so-and-so Appalachian State A&M college,
right?
Not university, college. That's gone. But and you'd have better games week in and week out, which, I mean, that gets to like with the NFL, where, of course, every game matters. Now there's only 32. Well, okay, so if you have a super conference and it's like the top 36 teams, okay, they're all round robining each other. Yeah, that would be a bigger deal.
Can I throw out tell me if this is dumb or not? So you mentioned super conference in college football. Should it incorporate relegation?
It should, and it will, because that will give incentive for the teams that are right below that to get up and in there. And it gives incentive for the schools that are near the bottom to try to play
up your game.
Right. because again, there's this presumption that all of these schools are they're the best teams in the country. Well, they're all going to go like 11-1.
Right.
You can't, by definition, that is impossible to happen. Some team is going to have the worst record.
Because, like when we talk about super conference for a long time, it's like, SEC and Big Ten going to combine. It's like, do I really want Maryland playing Alabama?
Right.
No.
Do
I want Wisconsin playing Alabama, right? No.
Well, I mean, we already have the oddities of like Rutgers playing UCLA. That's a thing now. Mm-hmm. I don't know that anyone was asking for it, but you get it. But that does give, and I think that this might have been one of those speculative stories at ESPN, or maybe it was one that was getting a little more into like, how could the future actually look? But I think the idea is that you would have promotion and relegation. So again, to give incentive further down so that, because otherwise, let's say if the schools that probably would be cut off, and I'll be a little brutal with this, like, oh, okay, maybe Wisconsin gets cut off. If RJ's theory is right, and again, listen to what he said yesterday, but if RJ's theory is right, and say 6-ish years from now is when this starts to come to fruition, possible the Badgers get left out. And now you're playing Purdue and Maryland and Colorado State, and that's your cream of the crop opponents. You're not playing Michigan or Ohio State anymore, ever, and you have no chance of winning college football play unless you get promoted. So, I mean, it would gut a lot of those big schools that have infrastructure, all of the setup to play for a college football playoff, which includes pretty much every Big Ten school. I mean, you can LOL on Northwestern, but they're building a new stadium right now for that. Like I keep going back to the Gophers example. If the Gophers aren't part of a new super conference, all you're playing for is some new secondary tier, my enthusiasm drops a lot. And I'm sure there are thousands and thousands and thousands are in the same situation. You really got to downsize. But if you have that chance to move up, yeah, and there's going to be ebbs and flows, because there could be some team that's like if you have a 36-team super conference and there's some team down in number 36 that's always wallowing. I'm going to be very recent with this, but let's say Florida State. It's at a horrible beginning of the year. What if that turns into Florida State going forward, and Florida State's always going like 0-11 in this super conference? They just keep that spot? No, they get bumped down, whereas some team that's dominating right below them should move up.
Well, it's kind of almost similar in a sense, too, of how high schools in WIA go now, right?
Yes.
You move up a division, move down a division, that sort of stuff. Based on a little bit like that. So, I mean, regulation is kind of a thing in sports. It's becoming a little bit more of a thing.
It is. The only reason why we don't see it in professional sports in the United States is because of the financial structure, the ownership structure, that you are awarded a franchise to be part of this league.
Right.
And there's no structure of like some other person is awarded a franchise to be a second tier. It doesn't work that way at all. That's why promotion relegation, I don't think ever is going to come to NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL. Even MLS is not even set up for that. They might be able to do that, but probably not there. But
one league that I did not know that does have it is, I didn't know Liv had it.
I didn't know that till yesterday.
Yeah, Bubba Watson, might be relegated, but he can appeal, which he probably win it and that sort of. But yeah, Liv has it.
Yeah, but that's a good idea. I like that. I mean, I can tell you as a Premier League fan, that has led to a lot of unusually stressful times, which I was not expecting over the last 14 years as a fan of a Premier League team. But it does bond you in a weird way.
Well, I think for Liv, you almost have to have that, because you have those guys signing huge contracts to go over there, and you almost have to protect yourself from guys just kind of tanking it in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes, that's the thing. You incentivize everything that way. It gets back to like, we talked about this so much with college football with the expanded playoff. Like, is this going to water down the regular season? Because not every game is going to matter. That might be an issue. We'll see about how this plays out this year. But you throw relegation in, every game matters. I can, again, back to the Premier League. Oh, I pay attention to every single game. I'm not watching everyone, but I'm paying attention to the result. And Aston Villa would lose a game. Oh my gosh, are we going to be down in the relegation zone? And this isn't like October, November. It got till May until the season's done. But because every single game counts. So if that's the case in college football, like let's say we had promotion relegation right now, we were 36, and I'm going to go back to Florida State or Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin would be like 2-1 right now, and I know it's not a perfect comparison because we're throwing in the South Dakota game. But like in Florida State's case, oh my gosh, you think there's controversy right now over, wow, what a bad start for the team that was all like, hey, we're one of the best. And like there's a lot of snark going on right now with Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like, no, we got a crisis going on right now. They're going to get relegated. They're going to be down and they may not get back. But we'd be paying so much more attention. And I love that idea. I know until your team is the one, then you hate it. But as a fan, oh boy, all the topics going on. I love that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it gives an opportunity for the smaller schools to play their way up because they're
down to be a devil's advocate, though, schools would play their way up. Would they still get that credit, though? You know, like what would be? You'd have to have some sort of baselines, right? To account, it can't be like on a vote or anything like that,
right?
You know
well,
what I mean?
like because what they do in English soccer, for example, they're the second tier is called the football championship.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like the next 20 teams. So what they do is, because the 3 teams from the Premier League are, of the 20 teams in the Premier League, the bottom 3 are relegated. Next level down in the championship, the teams that finish the top 2 automatically are promoted. And then they have a playoff. Positions 3, 4, 5, 6 have to play each other to get in. So you can't kind of backdoor your way, and you really got to prove it. And then the same thing applies going down all the levels of English soccer. There's like 6 or 7 of them.
Don't let voters do it.
Right.
Decided on the field.
Oh, gosh, because I don't want, again, gosh, I keep coming back to the school, but I don't want a Florida State situation like last year.
Right.
As much as I agreed with the decision, you're getting subjective. If you could do something like that where, like, you create a new bowl game, like, of everyone in, like, the second tier, again, like, maybe the top 2 who have, like, undefeated records, they move on. And then, like, the next 2 have to play in a bowl game to qualify. And then they get promoted up.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be more fun. Then you got like another random game. That champion, the championship for the championship division. I think you've heard this before. It's called the richest game in sports, because the winner that gets promoted to the Premier League gets all the Premier League money, which is like millions and millions of dollars. That's a championship for a second tier, and it gets a ton of attention. Can you imagine what that would be like in college football? If it's like, what if like the Gophers and Badgers are both out, but they have to play a bowl game to determine who gets promoted to the Super Conference? The other team's got to wait till next year.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that in December? Ooh, that would be fun. Stressful as heck, but it'd be fun. So there's potential with this. If we're reimagining all of this, there are ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the money and all the NIL stuff. Would you pay that extra 10% to go see those kind of games?
Probably.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
And that's why Tennessee, to bring it all back full circle, that's why Tennessee's doing it, because the people will still show up for that.
Mm-hmm. Because we are the ones at fault for this. We still pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But just a quick tie back to the Premier League. There was that big controversy over, again, my team, Aston Villa. Big ticket price increases for the Champions League, which actually are pretty reasonable by American standards. Outrage, sold out. Hey, the fans still bought them.
Yep. All right. That's your business of sports here this morning. We got to take a quick break here, and we'll be back. We'll kind of do a combo here, baseball, football talk, coming up after these quick words. It's time for a little midweek reset. We're on to week 3 of the football season already. Can you believe it? And you can be someone who wins up to 1,000 times your money by just choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats. When I'm making my week 3 underdog fantasy picks for this week, kind of making a mental note of how the passing yards for quarterbacks are a little bit down this year. So for this week, I'm going to be focusing on selecting higher or lower for running backs, for running back rushing yards, and maybe even some defensive players too. But the beauty of underdog fantasy is they give you so many different options to choose from, including making pick'ems on the on defense, like I said, or even special teams if you're brave, making special team picks over there too. So, like they say, time flies when you're having fun, and if you're not making your pick'em selections with underdog fantasy, well, then you're missing out on the funds. So you can join over 1 million fans again from across 33 states that got in the game last year by making picks on underdog fantasy. So, your signal just cut out?
On air signal just cut out. So hopefully,
Like on a radio?
so maybe people are listening to us right now, or maybe not, possibly. So
Okay.
hey, so this is the classic one where like, hey, if you can't hear us right now, tell us. The problem is if they can't hear us, then they wouldn't even hear what we're saying right now.
I can hear you on the streaming. So
Okay, well that's good. So if you're streaming us, cool. Hi,
Yeah.
stream people. You're awesome. You can still hear us. So
all right.
it looks like some goblins might have gotten into our AM
Now
trains.
I want to go check my car. Now I'm freaking out a little bit.
Oh boy.
But
People hear us? Maybe. So well anyway, we're still here. We're talking.
text me if you guys are listening on the 105.1 FM or 790 AM
Yes.
signal.
Because
or-
it suddenly
or
went
whatever.
and then silence.
Okay, so
Or our
hopefully it's just
engineers are playing around with a stereo downstairs and try to bring in signals from like Alabama just for funsies.
Yeah. So, all right. I didn't hear any alarms go off. Did you?
I did not hear anything either. So I
Okay.
don't know. So
So Jake says he's got us.
cool.
Okay. So it's probably
Awesome.
the Q studio over there.
Yeah. It could be
G-Man.
the room I was in. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually, for those that don't know, I'm like right next door in the studio next door because I got the computer in front of me and everything. And so that's where I couldn't hear anything. So I'm like, well, that sucks. So,
Well, I know intern was complaining about the headphones in there last week, so I don't know if that has something to do with it.
well, it could be that, but then again, that's Bob
Yeah.
complaining about something. I mean,
G-Man says he can hear us too. So if G-Man can hear us, that's what's
that's a
important.
really good
so,
sign.
So
Okay, so
there you
it's
go.
probably an us problem.
All right. So put in a ticket.
I will.
Put a ticket in.
You realize it's been like years since I've been in this room.
Yeah.
For real. Like it's
Mhm.
been I think it was pre-pandemic.
Well, somebody keeps messing with the studio after hours because I came in, my dials were pushed. Those headphones were cranked up so loud that I could
What?
hear them over here.
What?
So that happens like once every week,
Not me.
and the lights were all on.
Again, gremlins.
yeah.
You're feeding them after midnight?
Brewers, we'll be back at it. Thank you everybody for texting in. Good on 105.1. Steve says good on the regular radio too, you guys. Appreciate that. Thank you. Good to know too that we got listeners.
People actually are listening to this station. Woo!
We've got Brewers on tonight, 6:40 first pitch. They'll know unless the game goes really long. But they'll know ahead of time if they're in without winning tonight, or if they got to win tonight, and then they'll clinch that division. Cubs, A's, 1:20 first pitch. I'll double check. I had it up, but then I accidentally closed it right there. But the Cubs and the A's have it. Yeah, it's 1:20 today. Reminder, if the Cubs lose, the Brewers will clinch the division. They will win the division by kind of default there. If the Cubs win, they will kind of extend it here a little bit, and the Brewers will have a chance to win and get in. If the Cubs win today, Brewers have to win tonight to win the division, or tomorrow, or whatever. But if the Cubs lose today, this afternoon, Brewers are automatically in. So
What would you prefer?
I would prefer the Cubs to win today. I kind of mentioned that in the first hour. I'd prefer them to win today because I don't want the awkward celebration of, like, depending on what happens after tonight. Like, because you know what's going to happen if the Cubs lose, Brewers clinch, but then the Brewers lose, they're still going to celebrate.
Yeah.
And it just feels that happened before. It just felt weird. So I'd rather have them celebrate after a win instead of a loss.
Right.
Sort of
'cause
thing.
I mean, it's not as though it's going a loss would change the order right now. If the Brewers lose or if they win, they're still the 3rd seed. It doesn't matter. At least it's not something like, yeah, you lost. You won the division, but you're also now you're in the 1st round or something if the season ended today. And yeah, I mean, come on. We all prefer it when you actually clinch something on the field versus while you're still
And
in
I
the
think it would just
clubhouse.
be cooler too that it would be a bit against the Phillies. There's just a lot of like storylines heading into this game too. Freddie Peralta's on the mound. So a guy that we have, or a lot of Brewers fans has kind of questioned with his season, getting kind of anointed as the ace of staff. I think it's fair to say he hasn't really pitched consistently at that ace staff. Going up against Aaron Nola, who actually has been struggling here a little bit, but Aaron Nola has pitched in a lot of playoff and big league games there. So it just feels like it would come full circle here. Freddie Peralta on the mound, pitching a gem, leading the team to a division championship against, at least wins wise, the best team in Major League Baseball.
And Nola's been playing pretty well as well. And I know, again, starting pitching matchups aren't what they used to be, but that for Peralta's sake, compared to probably most other pitchers right now, starting pitchers for the Brewers, it means a little bit more than like Ray or someone like that.
Yeah.
No offense to them, but Peralta does. You're right. That it's more meaningful on that. Gosh, what if he did like a complete game or something like that, and then clinched the division that way?
Yeah, and then Nola, his last 2 outings, I mean, he hasn't even hit 5 innings, and he's picked up 2 losses here. But I mean, again, this is a guy that's pitched for a while, and he's pitched at a high level for a long time too. This is where this series too. I'm glad the Brewers went up against like Wheeler yesterday, and Wheeler obviously showed why he's a Cy Young candidate over there. But and I know Suarez has kind of been a little bit down, but guys who have going up against some of those better pitchers, it kind of almost feels like a playoff type game. It would almost kind of feel like a playoff type game, emulate a playoff type game tonight if you win and get it. You win this game and you win a division. It's because you got your ace. You kind of almost treat it like a game 7 sort of thing if you want to,
and you're still measuring a likely opponent depending on how you perform, and obviously what's probably going to be the opening round. Again, 2 games in this series, but we were assessing that June series in Philly. How do we, in 2 games, it's not a big sample size, but how would you assess how the Brewers have been handling Philadelphia despite the runs, despite the finals? How do you assess so far?
Just from these 2 games,
are they acquitting themselves well, do you think?
I mean, it's kind of very been split. I mean, that first game, they go out there and they attack Suarez and they get the win. And then last night, Zach Wheeler proved why he's pitching really well in the last 2 months. I mean, he's been really, really good, and he goes 7 innings yesterday. I almost feel like this is the tell-all game, really. This third and final game will kind of, not to kind of cop out of the answer here, but it's kind of been 2 very different games at that point. And, last time Nola faced the Brewers earlier this year, he went 7 innings, 2 hit ball, no walks too. So, I mean, he had their number a little bit earlier this year too. So, but no, I think all in all, depending on, even if this is a loss tonight by the Brewers, but it's at least a competitive game. I hate to say, you could take stuff out of, losses and that, but it's just, I think the biggest thing outside of a win tonight, I want to see Freddie Peralta rise up to this because he's going to be a starter in the playoff rotation. Colin Ray is probably going to be a starter. Tobias Myers, I would assume, is going to be the other starter. You look at starting pitchers for the Phillies; they've got a better rotation. So that's where you're putting a lot of eggs in your baskets for guys like Freddie Peralta. So that's why I want to see Freddie go into this. That's why I want the Cubs to win, to put a little bit of that pressure on. That okay, it to me, at least as a fan, it would feel like a playoff game.
Would it matter more to see Peralta have a good game, but the Brewers lose, knowing that the division title is essentially inevitable, or have Peralta get rocked a little bit. He just comes out early. They give up like 5 runs, but the Brewers are scoring and they end up winning the game and they clinch the division tonight.
I think I'd rather have the Peralta.
Yeah.
Playing well.
Bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that division title's coming at some point.
Yeah, it's going to come at home at some point too.
Right.
You got 4 more games against Arizona after this.
And how many division championship celebrations do we remember outside of like 2008? And a lot of that was in-game stuff. Usually you don't remember those, especially the way this season's going. Like, yeah, I know this is a surprise for most people.
When was the Euchre GIF one? Was that a division or was that a playoff series one? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
where he's like, pulling the lawnmower, starting the lawnmower sort of thing.
Oh gosh, they all kind of blend together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
That one I don't know if it was a division or if it was a playoff one. That's the only one but it kind of goes to your point. I don't even know if it was a division one or not.
Right. I mean, and again, there have been so many. This goes back to so many celebrations happening, and I've almost lost track of which one is which. Let's see. I think when was this? The lawnmower move, October 2017. October 7th, 2017. Who are they beating?
So that had to be a playoff then, right?
It was.
Okay. 2017, that would have been Colorado?
I think so.
Was it Colorado or?
Yeah, 2018 postseason. So it began in October. So that would have been the Colorado series.
Okay.
Had to have been.
Because they swept them, I believe.
Yeah.
In 3.
Or was it? Yes, that was correct.
Okay.
That was the one at Coors Field.
Okay.
The NLDS. When they won 6-0.
I suppose that makes sense because, then you're going to the NLCS at that point.
Yeah, which, again, that mattered because that's not a common thing for the Brewers. I know they've done it 7 years prior, but still, it's not a regular thing, and that was a pretty good team. So, yeah, that's the one. So mark that in for an LCS. But I understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, yeah, Peralta, I agree. A Peralta good performance tonight matters more. The Phillies do have that 1 seed to play for. They're 2 games up on the Dodgers right now. They got to keep pace over LA. They're kind of riding their ship as well. But yeah, Philly's got something to play for in this game.
It's going to be really interesting now with that gap between the Mets and the Braves, 2-game gap. There's a chance when we get to next weekend's games that maybe both those teams have nothing to play for, but they're going to play each other the following week too.
Got to start looking at the Phillies and Dodgers schedules too to see if there's.
I did a little bit earlier. Phillies and Dodgers have an easier schedule.
Okay,
but the Phillies do have the Mets after this. Was it the Mets after this? I think it's the Mets after this.
Okay.
But I mean that's going to be a unique dynamic too. If we get to that point, this point next week, where it's like it's clearly obvious Brewers can't get any higher than a 3. Mets are probably going to. Let's just say let's say the Braves just stink and the Mets got the 6 seed wild up getting into next Friday. You got 2 new managers too, Pat Murphy, and then the Mets dude. I just blanked on his name, coming over from the Yankees. How do they manage that then? Because knowing that they're going to face each other the following week.
Then this is like football. Like, what do you pull out of the playbook?
Because I think the main thing for the Brewers, they're going to want to rest a bunch of arms. So I wouldn't be surprised if you got some dudes making some appearances and just throwing some innings out there. And
Carlos Mendoza,
Mets
manager. Yeah, you got to be a little careful on some of that. I mean, look, if we're already looking ahead to a opening round,
then you get to the whole: does Willie play and continue that that streak of trying to play every game in the season?
Again, what's the bigger thing here? Do you have the streak or winning a World Series for the first time in franchise history? And especially if he doesn't perform well in the playoffs or gets injured, and then we're like, well, see, they have to keep the streak alive. This reminds me of some of those football streaks or basketball streaks.
Yeah,
where you got to think one way or the other, and one is more. I mean, let's be real; it's kind of superficial compared to the other one,
right?
So that could be an awkward series, and not in a bad way. Just like you don't really know where this is going.
Yeah.
Now, would you rather play the Mets or, having just seen them, the Diamondbacks? And the Diamondbacks, in some ways, the Brewers were dominating, and in some ways, gosh, they couldn't put them away. If the Diamondbacks somehow fell to the 6th seed,
I'd rather go Mets.
Yeah,
I think I'd still rather do Mets. So.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick break here. We got some picks and predicts coming up here, including where the heck is Bryce Young going to continue his NFL career? What a mess Carolina is right now. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be back to finish up after these few words. All right, let's wrap some things up with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place here in Eau Claire. Looking for somewhere to catch some of the action or or show off your trivia skills. Trivia is Wednesday nights at the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Head on down there, enjoy some good company and some good beverages as well. Let's do baseball picks first. Let's get through these. So, do the Cubs win or lose this afternoon against the A's?
I'll say the Cubbies they lose. Classic Chicago Cubs. They end up blowing it for the Brewers.
I'm going to say they win. I'll go with they win. Do they really blow it for the Brewers, or they just kind of help out the Brewers a little bit?
They unintentionally blow it.
Justin Steele's on the mound for the Cubbies this afternoon.
I think they should be able to win. But I'll pick Oakland in a bit of an upset. One of the last times I can say Oakland.
Arizona. Well, we're going to try to pick some playoff caliber teams here. Arizona at Colorado.
I will go. You know what? I'll say the Rockies win this one.
I'll go with Rodriguez on the mound for Arizona. Giants at Baltimore.
Oh boy, Orioles in a bad place right now. But I'll say Baltimore gets slightly off the schneid.
I'll go Baltimore as well. Atlanta at Cincinnati.
Oh boy.
Atlanta not playing good right now.
Schneids. Junis pitching for
Jacob Junis. Yep.
I remember him. I will take Cincinnati.
I'll go Atlanta on this one. Houston, San Diego.
Okay. Potential World Series matchup. Wouldn't be shocked. I'll take Houston.
I'll go with the San Diegans.
And I know that's.
I was trying to do a little Anchorman over there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Dodgers at Miami. Miami actually picked up a win.
Yeah. Wow. We're in the zone here. 50-50 could be happening. We have a 2-homer night from Ohtani. I will take the Dodgers.
I'll go Dodgers too. Your Twinnies at Cleveland.
Oh boy. So long as it doesn't get to Class A, then it's over. But I'll take a little bit of faith in Bailey Ober to bounce back a bit, and I'll give the Twins an actual win in this one.
I'm going to go with Cleveland. Washington at the Mets. Brewer killer Jose Quintana on the mound.
Gosh.
Here's the thing. You already know the game one starter when it's the playoffs between Brewers and Mets.
Yes. I'll take the Mets.
I'll take the Mets too. Detroit at Kansas City.
The Tigers actually lose a game, given that it's Tariq Skubal pitching. Oh boy. I'll take the Tigers.
I'm going Tigers with the sweep too. Yankees at Seattle. Yankees been putting up some runs against Seattle these last couple of days.
Odd of late. I'm not sure about Cortez though. I'll take the Mariners tonight.
I'll still go Yankees. And then finally, Philly at Milwaukee.
Brewers.
I'm going to go with Brewers too.
I think Brault has a decent night tonight.
Yep. I'm going to go Brewers too. Where does Bryce Young play? You don't have to say this year. I don't think it'll be this year. Could be next year. Could be a couple years. You got everybody thinking so-and-so should trade for him, and that the Rams are a popular one out there.
I'm going to zag. He plays for the Carolina Panthers.
For the foreseeable future?
Yes.
They're screwing this up so bad.
Well, are
the Panthers the most dysfunctional NFL franchise right now?
Maybe. I mean, you could make a case for the Cardinals if their front office is way more of a mess, honestly. But I think the Panthers are, given that Tepper's inserting himself. He did insert himself into a top pick.
Yep.
That's dysfunction. The owner should not be doing that. Unless they've got general manager capabilities, and David Tepper does not.
No.
But I'm going to presume that Dave Canales is going, all right, the Young situation isn't working as it's gone. If it had been my choice, I'm speaking as Canales. If it had been my choice, I would have had him benched earlier to learn more, not play him immediately. So I think that's what he's doing. He wants to reset this and give a shot down the road.
I get nervous when you've got all your eggs in one basket with a young quarterback and then you bench him. I get nervous about their ability to be able to come back from that. Not everybody can. I mean, you had Baker Mayfield go through. Maybe it wasn't Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Maybe it was Carolina when both of them were there. not everybody can be like a Baker Mayfield, where after Cleveland, you get to Carolina, then you bounce back to the Rams, and then you go to Tampa Bay sort of thing. And now I gotta tip your cap to him for how he's playing over there.
Well, yeah.
I hope he gets a shot. I don't think it'll be in Carolina. I think he wants to move on at this point. I don't know. I mean, the obvious one, I think people are probably, Miami. You get another smaller quarterback. I don't know what Tua's future is going to be at this point in time, but gosh, if he is available for trade next year, when you've got potentially like Quinn Ewers in a draft and all those other guys, that's going to be interesting to watch. Shedeur Sanders.
I think if he's going to move, it's going to be this offseason. If he sticks around for another year, then that's the Panthers going, you got screwed up in your first year. You had been much better with Alabama. We're going to try to find what you did with the Crimson Tide, and it's going to be a little bit to get there, but we got the guy. We're not going to blow up all our picks for that. But if they don't believe that, if Canales doesn't believe that, we don't know exactly what he's thinking. We don't know how Young is treating all of this. Then, yeah, I could see the offseason move and try to vault back up.
Carolina still owes a second-round pick to Chicago from this draft, too.
Gosh, that looks so terrible.
This could have been what happened to San Francisco if they didn't get Brock Purdy right with the Trey Lance trade. This could be San Francisco, or if they didn't have a competent coach or general, that sort of
the
stuff
great
too.
forgotten Trey Lance pick. Still there. He's still playing football.
Yeah, with the Cowboys right now. So he's another guy that's probably going to be on the move somewhere because he ain't replacing Dak Prescott anytime soon. But
nope.
You mentioned Alabama. There's a former Alabama offensive coordinator as a head coach right now that might need a quarterback.
Hint, hint.
Giants, Brian Daboll.
Replacing Daniel Dimes.
Brian Daboll might not last as long as Daniel Dimes at this point.
Just trade franchises at this point.
All right. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning just past 6. We'll chat with you then.